My name's Cyril, and I have a paper on consciousness that I think I wrote it for a metaphysics class at La County Shoot, because I took a lot of philosophy last fall, and it all just kind of muddles together. I've timed my presentation out. I think it's about the time limit, so if I'm talking a little fast, please excuse me. Without ego. We are the cosmos made conscious, and life is the means by which the universe understands itself. As science and philosophy continue to investigate and draw conclusions regarding the nature of consciousness, one among many questions which remain is how can a bunch of things that do not individually think or sense or have perception add up to something which does think or sense or have perception? Aconsciogenesis. This is the formation of consciousness from parts which themselves are not conscious, and it's in likeness to abiogenesis, which is the theory that we arose from, that life was started by molecules which themselves are not alive, but they mix together somehow in the swirling primordial mud pits. The problem is that it causes a disruption in the causal chain of events. So we have, actually, I think my next slide explains it best. Spend a lot of time animating this. Does this make sense? Okay, so here we have a human and another human, and they do some human stuff, and we get this not human thing. It doesn't make sense, right? But why doesn't it make sense to the common eye is because this is something which it was made out of these things, and these things are not this thing, so how did this thing come out of these things? Okay, it doesn't make sense in your mind, but I'm here to tell you that perhaps it does make sense in a peculiar, yet nonetheless demonstrable way. I have a 3-point argument. My first point comes from the field of bioengineering. The current understanding of technology we possess will let us replace almost every organ and structure in the human body with a simple 3D printer. And as I looked into this, the only organ that they haven't replicated in the bioengineering field is the brain. And they've even replicated some minuscule fractions of the brain, but they haven't come close to making a full working organ yet. The case is, quote, human skin relies on cutaneous receptors that output digital signals for tactile sensing, in which the intensity of stimulation is converted to a series of voltage pulses. We have developed a power-efficient, skin-inspired mechanoreceptor with a flexible organic transistor circuit that transduces pressure into digital frequency signals directly. The output frequency ranges between 0 and 200 hertz, with a sublinear response to increasing force stimuli that mimics slow-adapting skin mechanoreceptors. This work represents a step toward the design and use of large-area organic electronic skins with neural integrated touch feedback for replacement limbs. Now, what does that mean? What it means is that they've bioengineered, they've taken like silicon and some computer programming and electricity, and which themselves do not have tactile sensation. They've put them together in such a way that they made skin, synthetic skin that they could strap onto. If I cut the top of my arm off, they can put this stuff onto my arm, hook it into my nervous system, and I'll be able to feel through this skin because of this stuff that they've. So here's a perfect concrete example of a product which itself possesses an attribute or feature which its component pieces themselves do not have, tactile sensation. Mathematics. Mathematics typically provide an indefensible method of argumentation for all manner of claims. My math is as follows. 1 plus 2 equals 4. It's probably just best if I just go right into my animated explanation of this. So here we have Jim's a guy. He's a swell guy. And Jim knows this guy named George. And they hang out, and then they go and they meet Francis. Now it's Jim and George and Francis, they're all friends. So Jim and George have a relationship between the two of them. Okay? George and Francis have a relationship between the two of them. Jim and Francis have a relationship between the two of them. So here's 1, 2, 3. That's 1 plus 2. And we have 3 relationships. So where's this extra thing coming from? As you can guess, it's another relationship. And we see it here. And we call this the we all. And it's an interaction of these components, which if you were to take Jim, George, and Francis, when they're all together, they have this we all component of them, and they act differently as a group than they do when either of them are together with themselves. And if Jim, George, and Francis walk away from each other, the we all doesn't stay here, it dissipates. It's only when they interact with each other in a very specific way all together that this thing appears. Transmuter compounds. Transmutation, more popularly known as alchemy, is commonly misconstrued as a chemical process, and as such it is known to be a myth. Transmutation itself is not a myth, however, simply transmutation via chemical processes. It actually requires a vastly greater amount of energy to change a substance into something it is not, and this massive amount of energy is achieved by nuclear processes, not chemical. There are 2 ways to transmute an element. The first is to smash neutrons into the element, and the other is to allow the element to decay. It's a process called beta decay, meaning it will lose neutrons over time. So they're like, forget this, and they go away. So here we have thorium. Thorium is an extremely radioactive substance. And if you leave thorium to its own devices, after like 1 billion years, it'll start to lose neutrons. And as it loses neutrons, it turns into actinium. Actinium goes through beta decay. It turns into radon. Radon goes through beta decay. It turns into polonium. Polonium goes through beta decay, and it turns into bismuth. Now, what all these things have in common is they're highly radioactive substances. Like, these things will kill you. Okay, now, but if you leave bismuth to its own devices, it goes through beta decay, and it turns into lead. And we use lead also in all sorts of things, and we actually use it for safety from radiation. And it's absolutely not a radioactive substance. Now, if you'll remember, I said that we can let the elements decay, or we can smash neutrons into the elements. So if we take lead and smash neutrons into it, we can get bismuth and all the way up here. Now, this is radioactive and this is not. And as I just said, this is not, and neither is a neutron. A neutron's not radioactive. But if you smash a neutron into lead, you get bismuth. And in the way in which they interact creates radioactivity. So here again is another example of something which only when they interact in very specific ways do they create this component, this product called radioactivity. And radioactivity is not necessarily similar to consciousness. It's not visible, but it's absolutely demonstrable. You can absolutely test and measure for radioactivity as you can test and measure for consciousness. We're surrounded by pristine examples of unexplainable phenomena, such as synthetic skin with tactile sensation, the we all, and radioactivity. Not only do these examples readily appear in our worldly lives, but they are supported by some of the most elementary knowledge we have of the world in which we live: biology, mathematics, and physics. Now, if you'll allow me to quote myself for a moment. Without consciousness, I become nothing discernible in this world of wonders. Yet it is only to be conscious that it is to discern, and so without consciousness I need not be discernible. Without consciousness I am nothing, yet it is only with consciousness that I find myself needing to be anything. Okay, so we're excited. If you want to look into these more or see the full presentation, you can contact me at this email. If you want to read some more essays, you can go on this blog spot. My presentation.
Where you normally would be cleaving, since you can't cleave
I reckon
from a distance like the rest of these guys can.
We probably should split, because I think we're going to rate deer so quickly if we all go deer. I think we need to steer up because it is normal.
That's the other thing I was saying is that if Dia does get like 40% and the other guys aren't even close, like you guys can swap over.
You
But
can
I
just
think we have
assign
a
one of the
multi-bot
locks
cleave.
to each of the other two.
No,
Their
the
main
locks is
focus.
the worst ones to assign because they're multi-dotting everything. Yeah. You know what? Let's have hunters. Hunters. Try to keep it balanced.
Okay.
So yeah. And then I'll call people off as we go. And yeah. Anyway.
I'm
Do
glad
not
you used the word
lust.
call then, and not pull.
Or yank. I think I might be a bit frustrated.
Drenny, yeah, you got Dia.
Look at that. In normal and you're not food buffed and fast buffed. How are we gonna win?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gertal, dispatch our enemy.
Well, that did not work at all.
Yes, Darkling, your darkness burns within me.
Watch those shields, brother.
I didn't think it would take all of it.
That's what she said.
I rip the meat from your bones.
Hey, hey,
damage,
stop
65.
running away.
%. Let's swap. Get the others down to
Okay,
60 and come back.
Hop over.
Beware. It hungers.
Just follow the bouncing skull, guys.
Beware. The dead shall rise once more.
Alright, they're nearly even again.
Keep the focus on the two.
Beware.
Whoa, fell rage. Get back over here. Come on. Come back to where Blade Master is. If you've got. DPS on Blade Master.
Alright, they're about even.
Alright,
Can we go back to D?
I'm gonna go hard on Dia. Hard on Dia. Hard on Dia.
Oh, I've got a hard on to do it,
Bloodlust.
don't worry.
Bloodlust.
It hungers. They will carry the darkness with them.
Alright. Back on Blade Master.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh shit.
Wait,
Stop all DPS. Get the Blade Master. Get these Blade Master echoes.
Done.
Okay, get Blade Master. Burn him hard.
Alright, they're about even again.
Alright, kill the shit out of him.
Nice.
Nice. You guys want me to plan that shit? Ha.
It's all about communication. So next one, Nixie. Yeah, resident linkaholic.
A race against slime.
Yeah, we all have that one.
Most of us have that one.
Pretty much.
Oh, we've all done that already.
But we need to get the Gorfine one afterwards, so let's just go kill it.
True.
And then maybe we'll get back to Gorfine tomorrow.